All right, now some of the problems affecting Medi-Cal eligibility I decided to go over with you real quickly here. These are the stumbling blocks or the harder issues that we usually have to face. Now, what I'm getting at, first of all, is whoever's applying for the Medi-Cal, if that's the ill spouse or the ill parent, we need to know their gross worth. Nobody cares about the net. Medi-Cal does not care what kind of mortgage you have on your house. It's all about gross estate value. So the first thing we do is we determine what is that gross estate value of the applicant. And if the applicant has a spouse, we need to know their gross worth too. You know, in California, it's a community property state, so it's everybody's money, husband and wife, and that's how we usually handle it in a husband and wife situation. But again, gross estate value, not net. And then the next big issue has to do with, you know, that rental property. Okay, when it comes to rental properties, it is an asset that will count against you. And the first thing we worry about is rental income. I do not want rental income reported to mom and or dad, whoever's applying or not applying, who's the well spouse when it comes to Medi-Cal. That income will just get chewed up and go out to the share of cost of the nursing home, and it just simply means that Medi-Cal will pay less. So why give the rental income to the nursing home? And so what we want to do is get past that issue. We don't want rental income reported to mom and or dad. Now, the other big issue is that they cannot have a rental property sitting out there unless that rental value falls under the asset limit that they're allowed to keep, which we'll talk about in a moment. So typically what happens is we're going to have to shelter that rental property. That rental property, in getting sheltered, will also shift the income over to either a trust or the family members, not to the parents or the one applying for the Medi-Cal. And we have to get through all of the hoops that is involved in getting that accomplished. Specifically, really quickly, it means probably drafting a number of deeds based on the assessed value of the rental property, not the fair market value, the assessed value. Now, assessed values on your tax statement. So look on your tax statement what the county's charging you in terms of the value of the rental property, and we take that number, divide it by 10,000, and that tells us how many deeds we have to create in order to move it out, one deed per day until it's done. Now, I'll go over that in more detail when you come in and talk to us, but the point being is if you don't have rental property, forget about everything I just said. We don't have to worry about it. Now, what I mean by bullet number 3 down there, the probate rule. Whenever I go into probate, I have to notify Medi-Cal within California that a probate has been filed so that they can go into the records to see if there's any recovery claim against the estate that's being probated. So once again, do a revocable living trust, stay out of probate, and if we have a revocable living trust as an estate plan and we're not ending up in probate, then there is no rule to sit there and turn around and tell Medi-Cal what we're up to. Okay? So again, the revocable living trust keeps us out of court, avoids the probate, and we now don't have to tell Medi-Cal that the estate's in a probate situation. Now, another big issue, number 4, is the cost in cashing out annuities. Now, I mention this simply because there's a lot of protection in the financial planning world to not sell annuities to elderly people. I think there is an age limit, you know, when it comes to where the financial planners cannot do it. But some of these annuities that I come across outlast that age, and they can go into, you know, the late 80s, late 90s of the parent or spouse that needs to qualify for the annuity. And guess what? If we have to cash it out if we're going to shelter it, and cashing it out means surrender charges and penalties. So if there's anything as a child you can do is tell your parents not to invest in annuities as they get up into the late 80s and early 90s, so that we don't have to worry about surrender charges, etc., and the complications of closing out annuities. Now, the last bullet on this problem section has to do with life insurance. It's really not a problem so much, but it takes time. You know, we have to contact the life insurance companies, and if you have whole or universal life, it has a cash value, and we need to get rid of that cash value. The actual rule is you can have a cash value of $1,500 or less, and therefore the life insurance doesn't count. However, $1,500 or less is a very, very small cash value, and I quite honestly never see that. I always see cash values in the tens of thousands or even more sometimes. Well, what happens is that is a countable asset, that cash value, and so we're going to need to ascertain exactly what the cash value is, and we're going to have to do some planning to get rid of it. There's some strategies for doing that. Sometimes it could be as simple as changing ownership of the life insurance policy. Sometimes we just cash it out. Sometimes we cash it out down to less than $1,500. And then the drawback to all of this is you lose your death benefit if we're cashing out life insurance. So we always have to address the life insurance issues. And again, it's not so much a problem, it just takes time, and time means money when it comes to qualifying for Medi-Cal, especially if someone's already in the facility. Thank you for watching our video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell, or watch other great videos that we may have.